Airplanes are some of the heaviest machines ever built. A large passenger airplane can weigh hundreds of tons and carry hundreds of people across countries and oceans. Yet somehow, it speeds down a runway, lifts off the ground, and stays in the air for hours. How is that possible? Gravity is constantly pulling everything toward the Earth. If you throw a ball into the air, it eventually falls back down. So why doesn't an airplane do the same? What keeps such a massive machine from falling out of the sky? Is it the engines? Is it the wings? Or is there something happening in the air that we can't see? The answer is hidden in the way air moves around an airplane. And once you understand it, flying becomes even more fascinating. Before we understand how airplanes stay in the air, we need to understand the force working against them. That force is gravity. Gravity is constantly pulling everything toward the Earth. It pulls on people, cars, buildings, and airplanes. And unlike an engine, gravity never turns off. Even when an airplane is flying high above the clouds, gravity is still pulling it downward every second. In fact, if nothing opposed gravity, the airplane would immediately begin falling back toward the ground. So this creates a challenge. If gravity is always pulling down, the airplane needs another force that can push upward. And that force is called lift. The question is, where does lift come from? To understand how an airplane flies, we need to look at four forces acting on it at the same time. The first is gravity, which pulls the airplane downward. The second is lift, which pushes it upward. The third is thrust, created by the engines, which moves the airplane forward. And the fourth is drag, which is the air resistance trying to slow the airplane down. You can think of these forces as a constant tug of war. For an airplane to fly steadily, these forces must stay balanced. Lift must overcome gravity, and thrust must overcome drag. If they don't, the airplane's motion changes. But out of these four forces, one is especially important. Because it's the force that keeps the airplane in the air. And that force is lift. So where does lift come from? The answer begins with the shape of an airplane's wings. At first glance, a wing may look simple. But it's carefully designed to help the airplane fly. Unlike a flat surface, an airplane wing has a curved top and a flatter bottom. This special shape is called an airfoil. Engineers didn't choose this shape by accident. It's designed to control the way air moves around the wing as the airplane travels forward. And that's important because lift isn't created by the wing alone. It's created by the interaction between the wing and the moving air around it. So the wing's shape is only the first part of the story. Next, we need to see what happens when air flows around the wing. Now let's see what happens when the airplane moves forward. As the wing travels through the airflow splits into two paths. Some air moves over the top of the wing, while the rest moves underneath it. Because of the wing's special shape, the air flowing over the top follows a different path than the air flowing underneath. At the same time, the wing guides the airflow downward as it passes by. This might not seem very important at first. After all, it's just air moving around a wing. But this movement is exactly what allows lift to be created. In other words, the airplane isn't simply moving through the air. It's actively changing the way the air flows around it. And that's where the real magic of flight begins. So how does all this moving air create lift? As the wing moves forward, it pushes air downward. And according to the laws of physics, when the wing pushes air downward, the air pushes the wing upward. This upward force is called lift. You can think of it like standing on a skateboard and pushing something away from you. When you push one way, a force pushes back in the opposite direction. The same thing happens with an airplane wing. The wing continuously redirects air downward, and in return, the air continuously pushes the wing upward. As long as enough lift is being created, the airplane can stay in the air despite gravity pulling it down. But there's another common misconception. Many people think the engines are creating this lift. In reality, the engines have a very different job. Many people think airplane engines are what keep a plane in the air. But that's not actually their main job. The engines don't create most of the lift. Instead, they create thrust. Thrust is the forward force that pushes the airplane through the air. Think of the engines as the part that provides speed. As the airplane moves faster, more air flows around the wings. And as more air flows around the wings, more lift can be created. Without the engines, the airplane would gradually lose speed. And with less speed, the wings would generate less lift. So the engines and wings work as a team. The engines provide the forward motion, and the wings use that motion to create lift. But this raises another important question. How much speed does an airplane actually need to fly? If wings create lift, then why do airplanes need so much speed before takeoff? The answer is simple. Lift depends on airflow. The faster an airplane moves, the more air flows around its wings. And the more air flowing around the wings, the more lift they can produce. That's why an airplane accelerates down the runway before leaving the ground. At low speeds, there isn't enough airflow to generate the lift needed to support the airplane's weight. But once the airplane reaches a certain speed, the wings can create enough lift to overcome gravity. This is also why pilots carefully monitor airspeed during flight. Too little speed means less lift, and less lift means it becomes harder for the airplane to stay in the air. So speed isn't just helpful, it's essential for flight. So why doesn't an airplane fall out of the sky while it's flying? The answer is balance. During steady flight, the airplane is constantly being pulled downward by gravity. At the same time, the wings are creating lift that pushes upward. When lift equals the airplane's weight, the airplane can remain at the same altitude. Something similar happens horizontally. The engines create thrust to move the airplane forward, while drag tries to slow it down. When thrust and drag are balanced, the airplane maintains a steady speed. So even though gravity never stops pulling down, the airplane isn't losing the battle. The forces are balanced. As long as the wings keep producing enough lift and the engines provide enough thrust, the airplane can continue flying safely for hours. So, how do airplanes stay in the air? It's not because gravity stops working. Gravity is pulling the airplane downward every second of the flight. The secret is that the wings continuously create lift while the engines provide the speed needed to keep air flowing around them. As air moves around the specially shaped wings, lift is generated, helping balance the airplane's weight. At the same time, the engines produce thrust to overcome drag and keep the airplane moving forward. When these forces are balanced, the airplane can fly smoothly for hours. So the next time you look out of an airplane window, remember, a giant machine weighing hundreds of tons stays in the sky because of an incredible partnership between wings, engines, air, and physics. There's always more to discover. Like, share, and subscribe to Beyond Basics for more fascinating videos made simple.